anticipated matchup between the Oakland Raiders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Super Bowl 37.
World champs, baby!
They couldn't catch another shit. Cannons like the notice, so it's time to flip the script. Cruising through the bay on that Buccaneer battleship, sold up, screaming out, so Buck, what you heard? So Buck, what you heard? So Buck, what you heard? So Buck, what you heard?
All right, welcome back to another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I will follow you back. Always love talking football. You can catch me on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter. That's the best place to catch me, and I always have a good time. I'm joined tonight by my special guest, Anna Lewis from the Say It Again Network. And I met Anna a long time ago. We've been friends for I don't know how long, and feels like we've been friends forever. How you been?
It does. Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. I know you came on once, and I thought I scared you off, but
No. The hot seat was intense, though. I will say that. So, but I'm Anna. Good to see everybody. I met Gene on Twitter, I think is actually where we connected. Just got in a conversation about women in sports, and the reason we were there is the reason I was there is because I actually coached college football. So I know a little bit about the defense, specifically the defensive line. But I just love football in general, love the NFL, but I'm really, really passionate about the Titans. That's my hometown team. I'm from Nashville, born and raised. So that's the quick and easy version of it. I have a podcast about the Titans specifically with former legend, or I guess still a legend, Albert Haynesworth, and one of my buddies, Joe Lemming. So we have a good time over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Albert was here for a little bit.
Yeah. So he's a good dude.
When it comes to you following football, you watching football, I'm sure you have, because and we've talked off camera, we talked before. If you guys don't know, we've had conversations, away from this, and you studied the defensive line. That was where your focus was when it came to coaching. Your focus was on the defensive line. So when you're watching football, are there certain things that you take away or you pick up right away that the average listener or a person watching wouldn't?
Sure. So yes and no. There's probably a lot of people that just love football that do pick up on a lot of the same stuff I do. I watch footwork when I'm looking at guys on the defensive line. That's the biggest thing that can affect not necessarily your overall speed, but your ability to get off the line. So footwork was something I worked on a lot, and that's something that I had to learn when I was working on that staff, because that's what my guys struggled with, was their get off. And then I don't know, you guys probably don't necessarily always think about the fact that your favorite defensive line. First of all, a lot of football fans aren't paying attention to the defensive line. They're looking at the showy pieces, the edge rush and all that, which is fun. But to be able to do that, your interior linemen have to do their job and create those opportunities. And I'll watch a lot of that and then watch a lot of the moves they're doing off of that. So if you have followed me on Twitter, which is right here, Anna Lewis SIA, you'll know that I'm a big Jeffrey Simmons fan. And I got really frustrated with the Titans last year because they had him doing a lot of stunts going over and under guys where he really should have just been bull rushing 99% of the time. And I actually heard through the grapevine, can't reveal my sources, but he was frustrated because he felt that he could do the same thing too. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I heard that a couple weeks ago, but those are probably the two things: footwork and then moves off the line.
Good question right here. Bud Cannibalists was asking, what are your thoughts on Vita Vea? Yeah,
so to be honest, I don't watch the Bucs every week. So
I just from what you've taken away from, I know, let's look at the Super Bowl, for instance.
Yeah. So I probably have to go back and watch some specific film to give you specific feedback on just him. But overall, I was really impressed with the Bucs line as a unit. I thought you guys did an excellent job shutting down the Chiefs. So in that game, I think he did really well. And I don't know what the consensus is amongst Bucs fans if you guys like him or if you don't. But yeah, we do.
Yeah.
He's young, which is exciting. I mean, 25 is still pretty young for that position. So I think you've got an exciting because you have Sue. Do you guys still have Sue?
Yep,
Did you sign him back?
Yep.
So he's a little bit older. You got a couple guys that on the line that are a little bit older. So it is exciting to have a volatile threat in Vita Vea. So I think you've got a lot of potential there, and he is a spitfire. I'll give you that.
And the one thing that we all took away as Bucs fans, I know that when he was drafted, there were a lot of people that wanted safety. There is a certain safety from Florida State that every general consensus, everybody was like, "Oh, this is the guy we need to get."
Okay.
I've always been a person that I love the trenches. I've watched. I would say I paid close attention. So I'd say the last 8 playoff. Last seasons and as far as the playoffs go, and games are won and lost in the trenches. The only team that has bucked that system has been the Kansas City Chiefs, because
I agree.
If you look at both sides of the ball for them, when they won the Super Bowl, they were the outlier. But the majority of the teams that have won the Super Bowl, games are won and lost in the trenches. Whether your offensive line is dominant and your defensive line is dominant. And we got to see that, and I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers came into their own. I think it was great to have 2 teams that, or a team that they had the coach 2 years in a row, and the majority, the core of their players were all together. So you finally came together. You had a team that everything came together with Shaq Barrett, with Vita Vea, with JPP, with Ndamukong.
I like those guys.
Yeah.
And you really just have a lot of all-stars. And I just pulled up the stat line for your defensive guys just to see where he kind of falls in there. Am I reading this correctly that he only played 5 games?
Yes. He had he
had crazy numbers.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
What he can do to a interior offensive line is, I'm sure it gives offensive coordinators nightmares, because this man, he's set up. If you go back and watch, and this is your homework here.
I will.
Go back and watch the Super Bowl, and you can see where Vita Vea is set up for JPP and Shaq Barrett to have the monster game that they had. Again, I keep hearing if Chiefs fans talk about their offensive line and this and this and this. Vita Vea was not present week 12 when the Bucs faced the Chiefs.
Nope. So he just played the last game of the regular season in playoffs, or last 2 games?
The last 2, I believe it's the last 2 games. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. This is ridiculous. Like, just looking at 3 QB hits in 5 games, and one of those being up against, I guess one of those was against Kansas City, or one of those games. And then like his numbers are crazy. So yes, just off of this, I do like him for you guys. I'm definitely going to go back and watch some film, because he's somebody that I'm sure. The way I look at it is, who would I have loved to work with when I worked with defensive linemen? And just from his numbers, I can tell he's somebody that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, when you look at this team, when you look at the team top to bottom, I mean, when you're looking at the defense, does anybody stand out to you? I mean, your quarterback's okay. Yeah, we had that conversation. Yeah. I always thought it was so funny that people were like, he can't do it without the Patriots. Like, y'all are stupid, because Tom Brady came out here knowing that he left a franchise that he was with for 20 years and decided to go win a Super Bowl with somebody else, and y'all just so happen to be that team. And looking at last season or last offseason and seeing his decision, I can definitely see why he picked the Bucs, because yes, I love Devin White. He's one of the players I love to watch play. I love JPP. I love Shaq Barrett. I love Ndamukong Suh. My boyfriend is a Rams fan, so I watched a lot of him when he was there, and just him with Aaron Donald was a lot of fun. Yeah. I'm going to have to go watch Vita Vea. I mean, obviously, I'm a defense person, so I'm running through defensive players, but No, I mean, you had a very explosive team of just people. It was almost nostalgic seeing like Gronk out there scoring touchdowns in the Super Bowl, seeing Antonio Brown out there. I mean, it was just a lot of fun to watch.
Right.
And it was really fun to see. It felt like the old heads going and playing against all the new kids. And then, they showed them who runs it. It was cool. Yeah. It was really cool.
So, I mean, and another question would be, were you expecting Tampa to do this? I know that, like, and I kind of want to bring in your team, the Tennessee Titans.
Sure.
And, Tennessee, you bring Ryan Tannehill, you revitalize, Ryan Tannehill. I know your feelings on him. We'll get to that in a moment. I'll circle back around to that because I think there's a little bit more to that.
Yeah.
I really was never of the mindset that a quarterback could change a team until Tom Brady got here. And I've never been that guy to be like, okay, one player can't have that much influence, but I was wrong. I've been admitting I was wrong, since probably game 4. I've been admitting.
I remember the last time I was on your show, you were still kind of unsure, and it was the beginning of the season. So, and I understand. Yeah, you were just chilling. You're like, show me. And I respect that. And that's kind of the way I approach football as well. That's why, I don't know if you've seen the debate of Ryan Tannehill versus Steve McNair in Titans Twitter,
you've been crushing people. You made one guy say something and you had to block him. He was all in his feelings. But you know what you were talking about,
Ryan Tannehill still needs to show me.
What is Ryan Tannehill to you right now? I mean, when you're looking at your team and you're looking at your team top to bottom, your team top to bottom.
Yeah.
Where is Ryan Tannehill? I mean, as far as a leader, as far as, do you envision him taking your team to the AFC Championship or to the Super Bowl? Could he be that guy?
I have to say yes, the AFC Championship, because he did. Technically, even though that was a Derrick Henry run playoff. I mean, he had over 200 yards in 2 games, so in each game. So we don't get to say that's Ryan Tannehill. Sorry. But I think if you look at our history of quarterbacks, the last quarterback I was excited about, I was a child, but was Steve McNair. And it was because he was explosive. He definitely was more of a leader than most people you even see play football anymore, because he was just different. I mean, he played through ligaments being torn in his shoulder and stuff like that. He was insane. So there's just a lot of love for Steve McNair, and that's why I hate that debate, because it's like, don't do that. He had a long career.
That's the whole Jordan Kobe or Jordan LeBron debate.
James,
you're talking about totally different eras, totally different. I mean, the game was different when he was playing than it is for Tannehill. It's more of a offensive minded league that we have right now. Yeah. And they're afforded a whole. I mean, could you imagine a Steve McNair playing in this era of football?
I think he would be fine, because I think the better question, or the more, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but the more challenging matchup would be taking Ryan Tannehill and putting him back then, because there's so many more rules now to protect quarterbacks. I don't think he could have done it. I don't think most quarterbacks that didn't play then, like Tom Brady's played forever, but there's so many quarterbacks that are young. I don't know that they could have handled the physicality of that. One of the only running backs I feel confident in that could is Derrick Henry, because the way he's built. So it was just a different game, like you said. Yeah. But for Ryan Tannehill, I think he brings a lot of fun. If you look at our previous quarterback, Marcus Mariota, I don't think a lot of people love Marcus Mariota, and I do too. I think he's a great person. And he's frail, and I don't think he commanded that locker room. I do think Ryan Tannehill, for lack of a better word, brings a little swagger, and I think the offense likes him a lot. They play hard for him, and I think he's a likable guy. I just don't think he does anything special. He has his moments, but if you're in the NFL, you always have your moments. You're a professional football player. You're one of the best in the world. But if you would have given me the option to go back and get Tom Brady last year when they were talking about him coming here, easy answer, especially now. So.
I mean, hindsight is 2020, and I look at what was able to accomplish. He was able to do things that we were hoping that we would have seen, over the past decade, and we just never had it. Here's a man that comes in there's accountability across the line. There's, players want to play for him, and he's just made, a lot of players around him better.
Yeah, you get him, and you can have anybody else you want.
Okay,
because people want to go play with him.
It looks like were you sad to see C. Davis leave? Is one of the questions.
Not really. So something y'all will learn about me, especially the more I come and chat with Gene, is I'm kind of a cynic, but I like to think I'm a realist. So Corey Davis was with us for 5 years, and for 4 years he did nothing. During his contract year, he had a career year. So whenever players do that, I'm like, like, give it to me over time. I want consistency. Yeah. It's like a relationship. I want consistency. I don't want you just showing up on Valentine's Day. Like, I need it all the time. So I wasn't sad. I felt kind of bad for him because he was under the impression that Sam Darnold would be his quarterback, and now he's gone. So that is interesting.
What did you think of that? What did you think of that move, the Sam Darnold to the Panthers?
I just don't know. Like, I didn't get it. I don't really, this is going to sound bad. I don't really care because they don't affect me at all. I don't even think we play them this year, but I just thought it was interesting. It's like that was a weird move. But
do you think does he move the needle? I'm going to say this. Somebody said the second QB second Bridgewater is what they were calling. I'm going to say this.
Right.
I think if Teddy Bridgewater has Christian McCaffrey all year, it's a different story.
Absolutely.
I think that you're looking. I think the makeup of games is different. I think that you're seeing. The outcomes may not have been the same, but for what he did what he did, and with the talent that he had around him, very young talent on defense, very young talent on offense as well. They're going to continue to mature. I think if you get a full season out of Christian McCaffrey, you're looking at a different team. And I think that, it's a possibility that Sam Darnold comes in at the right time where you get a fully healthy Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could look at it with my team. It's a dominant running back. It doesn't really matter who your quarterback is to an extent. They just have to be able to fill in the pockets. What if Derrick Henry's out? Or will you trade Derrick Henry away? What do you do then? What does Ryan Tannehill look like then? Like garbage. So
he looks like he did in Miami.
Similar. Yes, exactly. We actually have film on that. We know what Ryan Tannehill looks like without Derrick Henry. You're right. And we also know what Derrick Henry looks like without Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, absolutely. So who's your backup right now?
We have this is bad. We don't ever. It's nobody that even really matters. They moved it around so much. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's what's interesting for Tampa. Tampa's brought back all their starters from winning.
Okay. Yep. Which is wild.
That just doesn't happen. Shout out to our general manager.
Yeah.
Love our general manager. Quietly kept secret. I actually love your general manager too. Robinson. He's a great guy.
He's nice.
I actually met him.
What?
When he was in Tampa. Yeah, because he was in Tampa before he came back.
That's so crazy. Yeah, and I know that your buddy Andy is
Andy
he rubs elbows with him. Yeah. So we talked a little bit.
Yeah, he when he comes to Tennessee, he hangs out with him and everything.
I need Andy to bring me along next time.
You know what? I get mad at Andy because Andy's freaking in Scotland, man, and this guy comes over and Jason Light likes, oh yeah, come on back here. Let's look around. And
so wild.
One of my friends, he was a chef for the Bucs at One Buck, and he took me around, and I got to tour the facility. It's the only way I got to tour the facility because a friend of mine.
Right.
And I'm looking at Andy comes over here, and oh yeah, I'm here. Let's go. And his kid, you know what? I love his kid. He's a great kid. They actually he's got pictures with him and Mike Evans. He's got pictures with him and just everybody. And it is what it is. Yeah, I'm low key jealous.
That's pretty cool. What a life. What a life.
So I want to ask you, how is COVID affecting you guys? I mean, have you gotten to go to any games, or did you go to any games in 2020?
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty fortunate. I have a couple of connections to the team. So I got to go quite a bit.
So are you
I
working on
went,
getting like press credentialed?
yeah, I think Albert is actually going to push for that. He actually got his kidney transplant yesterday, so he's going to be out of commission, but he's waiting on
How's he
that
doing?
for about 10 years. As far as I know, he's doing good. So probably out of it, but that was exciting. He's been waiting for a long time.
Yeah.
But whenever he gets back, he was going to talk to the team about getting us some interviews. I'm hoping when we get a Big Jeff interview, I'd probably cry. I don't know that I could actually physically do that one.
Maybe Eddie Jordan, somebody, I guess.
Right. And Javon Curse,
Yeah.
Keith Bullock. Keith Bullock actually has a coffee shop here in town, which is so cool. So you can just like go and grab a coffee and meet Keith Bullock. But he's working on getting his credentials there.
Yeah, there you go. So I guess we don't play you guys for a couple of years now. I think the last time we played you guys,
was it 2 years ago?
Yep, I think we held Derrick Henry like 76 yards rushing or something like that. It was crazy. Yeah, that was like one of his lower performing games.
It's pretty crazy when 76 yards is like considered a really bad performance for your running back. Let's just put that perspective. It's wild.
When you look at what he does, I mean, I would say since Bruce Arians has been here, the run game has gotten so much better. Plus, they offloaded Gerald McCoy, which was a running liability, but they fixed the running game. You got Vita Vea in there. Then they have, they've stacked that line and they've continued to stack the line.
Yep.
The draft is coming up. This is what's crazy right now in Tampa. There are limited spaces where you could like be a starter. It's just crazy and I'm talking depth wise too. There are just players that are just like you're stacked pretty much everywhere. And I'm sure that with the draft they're going to have some people that are going to compete, and you're going to you may see some competition in certain places, but it's going to be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah, I have actually been really blown away by your GM's ability to bring back every single person. That's insane.
So did you watch him when he had that not press conference, but when he said you're not going anywhere, and he was telling all these players your ass isn't going anywhere? I don't know if you saw
No,
that.
I didn't see that.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So I had this tweet. I know you saw the tweet because you liked it, where I was like, if somebody tells you your ass isn't going anywhere, you probably should believe them. And that's kind of where that stems from, is because Bruce Arians is like, you're not going anywhere. And I was of the mindset that the Bucs, because I have PTSD from all the decades of bad football that I've seen here.
Sure.
But that's for another time. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, he's just saying that. And I'm thinking, well, we're going to lose a wide receiver. We're going to probably lose a edge rusher. And damned if he didn't bring everybody back.
I wanted JPP so bad.
Did you think he was going to be available?
Absolutely not. But I wanted him.
So were you guys? Because I know there was talk of Chris Godwin possibly going to Tennessee. I saw a couple of articles about that. Was that somebody that was on your radar in the offseason?
It was another one I didn't think was going to happen, so I didn't get too excited.
But I mean, when you heard about it, it was like in your head, you're like, okay, Chris Godwin could fit in Tennessee.
Absolutely. I think him with AJ Brown would be a lot of fun. And I know that if we would have taken Chris Godwin, then Corey Davis is definitely out the door. But him next to AJ would be a lot of fun. Think about those two and then Derrick Henry in the backfield. That's pretty exciting offense. So I would have loved it. But I knew when I saw, like, of course you had Tom Brady back. I think everybody that played with him just wanted to be back. And I think they would have taken pay cuts to do it because they saw what he did. There are so many players that you already had that adding Tom Brady just elevated your team to Super Bowl champs. So who walks away from that? Who walks away? Nobody.
And there are players out there that have been on horrendously bad teams. I mean, the Bucs signed Giovanni Bernard from Cincinnati. Signed this week. You've got Leonard Fournette, who's played for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have been atrocious. And you could chase money later, but you have an opportunity to play for another Super Bowl. I guess in my mind, because I'm not an NFL player, but in my mind, I've played with all these bad teams. I would come back to a good team for a little bit more money for opportunity to play for a Super Bowl, because you get that in your system and you want to do it again. So I don't know. I guess there's different kind of players, because it's interesting when you look at the Super Bowls and you look at the MVPs and they command more money, and 9 times out of 10 they go to another team. They're not as good, and it just never really works out for them. I mean, like, I can go back to Tampa winning when the Bucs when the Bucs won their first Super Bowl. It was like Dexter Jackson goes to Cincinnati and he looked very unbueno while he was there. And they're just, you could go on down the line, on and on and on. The players that have moved on to take more money don't end up looking as good as they did, when they played for the team that they did.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, I guess you see who the real competitors are. And I've always had a lot of respect for, I hate to go back to him again, but Tom Brady. Tom Brady could have been paid so much more money several times, but he never took it because he wanted to build a championship team around him. And you got to respect that. So I think that's exactly what happened. Your team got a taste of what it felt like to be champs, to prove everybody wrong. They want to go do it again. Who doesn't want to go do that again? Also, I have to, just while I'm thinking about it, have to give mad props when you look at the diversity on your coaching staff, the women, people of color, all of that. I love it. I'm like, you guys might be my number 2 team to cheer for, because you've done what people think isn't possible, and like just having the good old boys club, running everything. The Bucs said, nope, we're just gonna sprinkle a little bit of everybody in there, and you guys look like you're having a ton of fun.
And that's what we need to get to. I mean, when realistically, and I'm gonna get on my soapbox here for a minute, but we need this kind of diversity. I mean, male, female. If there's a female coach out there that can make your team better, that's who you want on the field. That's who you want working with your players, because players can smell bullshit a mile away. But it's somebody that's genuinely going to come out there and help them. Coach Jen Welker, I love her. I love what she does, and just her message. I've always felt like there's a place for women in sports, period. Whether it's the NBA, WNBA, whether it's the NFL, MSL, whatever it is. I think there are women that can fit into they fit into the puzzle to make a team better. Who was the coach for San Francisco? The
Caitlin.
Goodness, and she'll kick me in my nuts for not remembering this, but you know what I'm talking about. So it's just like these guys realize they're like, okay, they know what they're talking about. They can help me get better. They can help me improve my game. It doesn't matter what the gender is. And that's where we need to get to when we look at sports. Like when we look at especially the media, I've always felt like, there's not enough of a woman's perspective on the NFL, whether, from the media perspective. I listen to some of these guys and that, like Michael Lombardi, I think he's an idiot. There are people that I respect more than him that I would listen to. There are media personalities out there that I would listen to way before I would listen to him. This guy's a moron. And that's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always appreciate your energy towards women in this space, whether it's the media or the actual coaching staff. So I'll speak for the women I know in this space, and we appreciate you. But yeah, I agree. I mean, for me personally, I never played. I wanted to play so bad. But my parents were like, you could be a punter. I was like, I don't want to be a punter. I want to hit somebody. Let me be a D end or a D tackle. That's what I wanted to do. And I mean, they obviously didn't know how big I would be when I grew up, but like I'm 6'2". I'm a pretty big woman. I'm still not big enough to play with men, but no, they're like, you be a kicker or a punter. Absolutely not.
How are you accepted as a coach when you were introduced as a coach? How are you accepted with the team? How did that work for you?
So I think at first so it was actually a player that made the introduction to the coaching staff for me. I met him in line, and I was a student, like I was a student coach, but I was also registered as like a full-time coach. It was kind of a weird situation. I was in school there. I just transferred because I went up to Indiana for 2 years, had a little bit too much fun. And my parents were like, you're coming home. So I went out to Tennessee Tech. And I actually was just like standing in line with one of the guys on the team, and I could tell by his build he probably was an edge rusher. So I just talked to him, and we were chatting. And he was like, "Hey, we need people to help with film. Like, do you want me to make an introduction to my coach?" And I go meet the coach. I think they like didn't take me seriously. Especially what was really funny was like the other guys that were also in the same position I was, like breaking down film, putting together scouting reports, stuff like that. Kind of more the bitch work, for lack of a better word. They were like not a fan of me being there, but I think it's because they were afraid that I was going to stand out more just because I was a woman. But as far as like the actual coaching staff, they're a little bit older. They're all like late 20s, early 30s. And I was 21 at the time. I was young. And they were super cool. And like they would say after with me if I had questions because I never played. So there were some things I just didn't know because I never played. Some of my players would do the same thing, like teach me stuff that I would know that if I went through, like a training camp, I would have learned this. But I didn't. So they would give me that perspective. But there were also, of course, the ones that took it at an inappropriate place. I was close to their age, and I was harassed every once in a while at practice, and the other coaches would just throw them a line, make them run the rest of practice. So it was interesting because I got a mix. I got some people that were super excited I was there, and they saw the value that I brought. Then I had people that, just stared at my ass all practice. So that's what it was. And that's part of the reason I stopped. In hindsight, I wish I never did. My boyfriend and I were talking about that the other day because he actually started looking at how much SEC coaches made, like position coaches and stuff. And that's what I want to do is coach in the SEC. I looked at applying to graduate assistant positions and going and doing that, but just thinking about moving around as much as they have to, giving up really your personal life as much as you have to. That's what made me just go more the business track. But sometimes I really miss it because it was a lot of fun.
Do you still break down film? Do you still look at film? I do. Is there anything that you can, like the people that are listening right now, is there anything that like things that you can offer to people that will guide them in breaking down film or, take an opportunity? Hey, I'm going to go ahead and get NFL All 22 and I'm going to watch the game afterward. My suggestion to people is look at everything away from the ball. Yeah. When you see where the ball is, look for everything else outside of that. Focus on where people are lined up right before the snap. Freeze the play at the snap and see where everybody's lined up on both sides of the ball. And that's for starters. Yep.
Yeah, that's the good starting place. All 22 is a lot of fun because you can play around with it as much as you want. You can cut it. You can slow it down.
Oh, and thank you for showing me how to get those clips in there too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I promise, guys, go follow me on Twitter at Anna Lewis SIA. I promise I will start doing film breakdowns again. I've been super busy, but that's one of my favorite things to do. But what'd you say?
Shame on you.
Shame on me. It does take a lot of time to make it coherent because people come for me if I say the wrong thing.
Yeah, they will. Because you're female. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Did you? We'll talk about that later. Yeah. But I would recommend look at everything off the ball. If you're wanting to learn more about the trenches, I think a lot more happens in the trenches than you realize. So really pay attention to that. There's little cues. Like part of my job when I worked on the coaching staff was to look for the nonverbal cues that offensive linemen gave to give away whether it was going to be a run or a pass on which side it was going to be to.
And is that the direction of their feet?
It depends. Every offensive lineman is different. Their tails are different. It might be their hips, it might be their shoulders, it might be their feet. A lot of them, it is the direction of their toes, quite literally their toes. So yeah, just think about like any sport you may play, like whether it's basketball or soccer. I played those two sports. You're always looking at
you'll play, right?
Yeah, like hips don't lie. Like think Shakira. If you watch somebody's hips, you can tell which way they're gonna go. So that's what I did. But it's always funny to see how people try to fool you with their feet or with their shoulders. And if you watch enough of somebody, it gets boring. But if you watch the same player over 200 snaps, you'll learn what they do.
So just real quick. So if you have somebody that's their hips, they're lined up directly perpendicular with you. is that what do you take? Do you have to look at their feet if they're like lined up? I mean, just almost identical with your, let's say your edge rusher. How do you take something like that, or what do you take away from something like that? Do you have to you have to look? There's a lot more factors that go into this.
Yeah, you have to look at everybody else on the line. You have to look at what the personnel is that's out there. That's another big thing. So look at how many tight ends are out there, how many receivers are out there, how many running backs are out there. Because all of that matters. It's a big numbers game. Like I would watch 1,000 snaps to get 2 or 3 trends off of one team. That's what I did for 80 hours a week. So it's a lot of time, and like most casual football fans aren't going to do that. That's totally okay. That's why you have people like me that are crazy. But if somebody's lined up perpendicular to my edge rusher, that would be kind of unique. Actually, usually they're a little off center, or at least my edge rusher is going to line up off center to try to get that exterior gap. So you would look at their feet and see what they're trying to show you, because what they're trying to show you is pretty much the opposite of what they're going to do most of the time. So that's what I just have to see it. But
okay, yeah, and I think that's where it comes down to. But just kind of giving people an idea. Okay, this is what you need to kind of focus on, because with the NFL, I guess the NFL and college are both similar in the fact that it's all about where, what do I want to say? It's more about anticipating what the other person's going to do, I guess is what I want to. And so there will be times where you see somebody lined up and you're like, okay, I know what they're going to do, but it turns out to be the opposite, like as you mentioned, of what they're going to do.
And what most coaching, Andy just popped up. Hi, Andy.
Hey, Andy.
How are you? We were just talking about you, actually.
Yeah, we were talking about you, man. Your ears must have been burning, my friend.
That's so funny. So what we would do, like that 1,000 snaps that I'm watching to get those 2 or 3 trends, it was usually on 1 or 2 players. It's not even the whole line. So of course you have your stats of like how often is somebody going to run, how often is somebody going to pass, and then you have, if Derrick Henry is out there, how often are they running? You have all that stuff, and that's pretty easy to get. So the tendencies,
behaviors.
Yes,
that's what I was looking at, because people are creatures of habit, whether they want to be or not. And
no matter how much you try not to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you look at 3 weeks of film and you notice this, as you talked about trends or those behaviors, that's pretty much something you can kind of zero in and say, okay, they always do this.
And that's why players watch film. So your coaching staff is watching film so that they can feed it to the guys that are up in the box watching the game, so that they can go down in the headset and say, hey, they're running, or hey, they're about to pass, they're passing to so-and-so. That's what all that is for. Hey, they're looking for, Tyreek Hill first. There are things like that's for the coaching staff to worry about. And then you have stuff where, like, say for you guys, Vita Vea is watching film to see what the guy in front of him every Sunday is going to do, because he has to know the tendency of the person directly in front of him, whereas the coaching staff has to know the tendency of every single thing on the field and what the other coach is going to do. It's a big game of chess, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And, that's what I'm hoping, this off season. I know you're a busy woman, you're an entrepreneur, and you've got all these things going on. You're a big timer. And, sometimes you can, make time for us little people here, but there is so much. I mean, I watch it. I mean, I'll watch a game like 4 or 5 times just because I'm trying to pick up on, certain behaviors that certain players have. And I don't ever use it. I don't ever talk about it on air, but I know it. And when I'm watching a game, and I see somebody do something, I picked up on it, and that's kind of, where I know I'm weird, but I don't talk about it on air, but it's something I want to get better at this. I want to get like, a pro player who could pick up film and, take the remote. Okay, this is what's getting ready to happen here. Like a guy that I love, and I know a lot of people hate him, is Tony Romo.
Okay. I love listening to him.
Tony Romo is incredible just because he can look at the way somebody's lined up, and he can tell you what this play is going to be or what's going to happen. And 9 times out of 10, he's spot on.
Yeah, he is amazing. I love watching games that he is the commentator for, because he's perfected his craft. But it's absolutely amazing to listen to because everything he says, it seems like it comes true. And the Cowboys are very fortunate to have somebody that intelligent. And that's where Tom Brady sits too. You have like kind of that generation of quarterbacks. They were, I'm sure you know this, but they're like brainiacs. And you know what? Tom Brady is not the fastest guy out here. He's not going to impress you with his feet. It's all here, and it's absolutely incredible to watch. So I'm interested to see what he does after he retires.
You've got an offensive coordinator under center is basically what it is.
Yeah, which is amazing. So it's not like having Lamar Jackson who's going to go out and dance all over the field, which is also fun to watch, but it's just different.
Yeah,
so no, Tony Romo was fun to watch, but he's really fun to listen to now. And I always feel like I need a notebook whenever he's got my game because I'm like I gotta write down all this stuff. This is good.
Yeah, it really is. And again, I encourage people that listen. I know a lot of people that listen to the show. They subscribe to All 22 and they enjoy it and they appreciate it. And they're picking up little things. And we still don't watch as much as NFL players or coaches or GMs or scouts. Not even close. Not even remotely close. And that's where I want to get to, where when I'm looking, because there are times when I'm watching a play, I can't identify what the defense is right away, or I can't identify what the offense is going to do right away. But there are certain teams like the Bucs. Cleveland's another team. Because of who their coach is, and I can look at how they're lined up, and I can tell you what I think is going to happen. And I'm pretty close with just watching them, because those are two teams that I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on them and learn about them and the behaviors of some of their players. But it's a lot of work. It's a labor of love, I would say.
Yeah. the thing I keep in mind, like when I think about the fact that, I'll, as it sits right now, I will never be able to watch as much film as, Mike Vrabel is watching with his team right now.
Until you become a coach.
They get paid a lot of money to do it. And I'm not. So they can keep it.
Yeah,
they can know the tendencies. And if it makes you feel better, Gene, I worked under a defensive coordinator for 2 years, and I helped him disguise coverages and all that crap. And I still can't sit and watch an NFL game and know immediately what coverage they're in. It's hard. But think about it, those people are getting paid millions of dollars to disguise it. So
because I'm watching Todd Bowles, and I'm looking at that line, and I'm looking at the linebackers, and I'm like, whoa.
Like, what's happening? There's so much happening here.
Yeah, exactly.
No. So I
don't know who's shooting the gap. I don't know what's getting ready to happen next.
That's one of the things I got called out for in one of my film breakdowns. Somebody subtweeted me thinking I wouldn't see it. I'm like, you don't know how petty I am. But he was like, oh, she can't even identify a coverage. I'm like, dumbass, you can't identify that coverage either. So please get out. Like, no, I can't identify a coverage when it's pre-snap. It's hard because you don't know who's moving where. And then even when they do move, the play's over. So it's like, okay, where were they going?
Yeah.
What was the end goal of that?
It may have been something blown coverage or something.
That too. So and you'll never know until you sit in that room and you know what they were supposed to do. So
that's
for me again.
So is this something that you continuously try to get better at? I mean, in your spare time when you do have it?
Yeah, I try to sit and watch. I mean, I watch the Titans a lot because that's who I talk about the most. But
you should watch Tampa. Throw them in.
Yeah, I really was fascinated by Tampa's ability to shut down Kansas City. So Tampa defense is going to be a lot of film that I watch from now on because that was really,
what
really
you should do. If you get a chance, go back to week 12 and watch the Kansas City Bucs game in week 12. Okay. They didn't have an offensive lineman. They were missing a cornerback. Tampa was, and they were missing Vita Vea, who is to me the heart of that. I mean, that defense, as far as that defensive line. So those three guys didn't play, and everybody talks about this blowout. And I think Kansas City did good the first quarter and part of the second quarter, and that was it. That was it.
That's what I remember too, because I remember sitting. I think maybe it was Nate Burleson. Somebody on Good Morning Football said, "Here's your Super Bowl matchup," which I thought was wild. I was like, "Whoa!" So then like they said it that week. I was like, okay, now I have to make sure I watch that game. And I was like, man, Tom, like what's going on with your Bucs? Because I haven't been watching the Bucs that much,
Right.
just kind of watching the numbers. And
I respect you. You've been cool. You don't throw shade. There's another guy. He's a Bears fan. I'm not going to drop his name or anything like that. You kind of threw a little shade, man. And I really wanted Tampa to face Chicago in the playoffs somewhere.
I did too. I hate Chicago. I hate Chicago so much. So no, for me, I'm not going to talk shit about a team that I don't watch. Because if I don't watch you enough to know what shit I'm talking, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. But no, after that game, I kind of paid attention a little bit more because of what some of the commentators were saying was, this could be your matchup. This could be your matchup. I'm like, oh, I know Kansas City's going to be there, and Tom Brady's probably going to find a way to get there. So sure, let's watch them. And I watched a lot of Kansas City and a lot of Tampa after that, along with obviously my Titans too. So no, I've got a lot of respect for what you guys did last year, and I'm kind of excited to see you run it back because I think you will. Yeah,
don't say running back. Repeat, maybe.
Repeat. Sorry, is that what Kansas City was saying?
Yeah. We don't. They can have that.
You should take it. You should steal it because they.
No, we don't. No, that's okay.
Aren't Buccaneers or Pirates? Aren't they? Don't Buccaneers steal everything? You can steal their saying.
So when Tampa, I have to ask you, because your boyfriend is a Rams fan. How confident was he when the Rams beat Tampa in that regular season game? Was he pretty excited?
So, I wish he would come and talk to you because I think he would legitimately enjoy speaking with you just like as a friend. If you'd ever talk to him, you'd understand what I'm about to say. He is the most cynical football fan I've ever met. His team.
Has he been a fan since they were in St. Louis?
Yes, he's been a fan ever since he was like 2. So he's been a fan a long time. So, I mean, he saw the Jeff Fisher years. We bond over that. It's a trauma bond. And he hated Jared Goff. He still talks shit about Jared Goff, even though he's gone. I see Bud Cannibalists said, is he happy to have Stafford? All he said about that was, he's a little bit better than Jared Goff, so we'll see. So he's very, very cynical. When they beat y'all, he was like, well, they're not going to do shit in the playoffs. Like that's just his attitude towards football.
Wow.
So no, he was not confident. He's never confident in his team. His team beat my team in the Super Bowl when we were children. And that's the only team he's confident in. So,
I was on the Monday Night Football collage. I don't know if I'll throw that out.
What?
Yeah, I was.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yep. I was on there. I had my glasses on, my Bucs glasses. I'm surprised you didn't know.
That's pretty awesome.
Shame on you. But I know seriously, but I was on there.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, but that game was depressing because the Bucs should have won that game. But again, it built this team into what they are, and just when they came off the bye week, it was just like they got shot out of cannon.
Yeah, I never get upset if my team loses in the regular season. You lose a couple games. When we lost to Pittsburgh, I was like, good. We needed that because we're not great. Look at who we beat. We lost the Bengals, sorry. The teams that we beat weren't impressive. And then, everybody's like, oh my gosh, the undefeated matchup between the Titans and the Steelers. I was like, we're going to lose, and it's going to make us so much better. We need to lose in the middle of the season so that we can go do better in the postseason. Now, I realize that didn't work out, and I have my thoughts on that. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but this is a Bucs show, so.
Oh, and I'm going to ask you, I know this is a Bucs show. We'll get back to the Bucs, but I'm just curious because I love the NFL as a whole. I love the Bucs. I love the NFL as a whole. With the offseason, with all the moves that have made in free agency and what you guys could potentially do with the draft, how confident are you in the Titans this year and in making that run and possibly being, because I can tell you right now, Houston's at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
Houston, maybe in 2 years they'll be available to compete or something, but not this year or next year.
Houston's going through it.
Huh?
Houston is going through it right now.
Yeah, they earn them L's, all the L's. And then let's see, Indianapolis maybe.
Indianapolis, they're a legitimate threat.
That quarterback is suspect still. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. That quarterback had one good year, and people all over Philadelphia think he's God. So, it's kind of the same thing here with Tannehill. Tannehill had a running back, a historic phenomenon at running back, and everybody thinks because we went to the AFC Championship that Ryan Tannehill saved Nashville. Okay, Derrick Henry saved Nashville. So Jacksonville makes me a little nervous. Actually, what I think is hilarious is how excited because I hate Jags fans. I hate Bears fans. I hate Jags fans. Colts fans are okay. I run a network with a few of them, so I have to be nice.
And I got to ask you this then. I'm glad you brought up the Jags.
Okay.
Urban Myers, do you think he lasts 3 years in the NFL?
That's where I was going. Everyone's like excited about Urban Meyer if you're a Jags fan. Like, you're an idiot. He has said openly he hates the free agency process and he hates drafting. He'd rather recruit. So he'd rather have an established program that can lure high schoolers into it, which I get, but how does that sound like an NFL coach to you? It doesn't. So he's not going to last more than 3 years. You're probably going to laugh at me. I am one of those people that I'm very skeptical when it comes to Trevor Lawrence. Because of the situation he's walking into. It's not because of him. It's because he's going to Jacksonville. And I feel bad for him because he's walking into an owner that doesn't know anything about football, a coach that really needs to be a college coach, and then a really shitty team. So
I think this is Nick Saban 2.0 right here.
Yeah. So I think it's just going to be fun making fun of Jags fans. And you know what? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But there's just a lot of things that point to I'm not going to be wrong. So, but I don't feel super confident in the Titans yet. What I am excited about is the offseason moves we made. With that being that we brought back Coach Schwartz as an advisor for the defense. Because when we had him as our defensive coordinator, we had an absolutely phenomenal defense with Javon Curse, Keith Bullock, Kyle Bosch, Albert Hainsworth. All those guys that really made me love the defensive side of the ball.
Now, is this nostalgia or has he evolved to where he can coach in this era of football?
I think,
or to be able to consult with this era of football.
Yeah, I think what will happen is I think he'll probably end up taking over as DC because Shane Bowen isn't that guy. Sorry. Our defense last year was
now. What is he missing? I mean, just
what is he missing?
Shane Bowen. When you're looking at him, what is it about him that you feel like, okay, this guy, he's not that dude?
Okay, so we're gonna make this interactive. If you're paying attention, throw me an answer in the comments. So if you have Jeffrey Simmons, who is a true 3 tech and an absolutely phenomenal interior rusher, and just a monster, then you have Jadeveon Clowney on the edge, and you have Daquan Jones, who can fill that hole in the middle, but can also run off the edge. What do you do? Do you let Clowney and Daquan Jones hit the edge and let Jeff take up the middle? Or do you have Jeff stunt outside and run towards the quarterback out on an exterior gap? What's your answer, Gene?
I don't know. That's
all right. Are you going to let these guys do what they're great at, or are you going to make them do something that's not natural?
Let me say this, and this is not a cop out. This is not a cop out here. I'm saying you play to your players' strengths. What your players are good at, what your players excel at, that's what you want to do. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. You don't want to have to make them learn something else. You want, if these guys are on your line, if this is your team, you play to their strengths.
All of that. That's what he's missing.
We had that Bill Sheridan. Yeah, so I totally get you here on that.
Yep. That's what he's missing. He hates that. It's like,
so basically,
you can bull rush 2 grown men, run to the outside on your bad knee, please.
So he's got it. He's got the scheme, and this is the only way that he'll work it is through his scheme. And I'm willing to guess that second half there are no adjustments or
no adjustments. He tries to do too much.
A square peg and hammering it into a round hole, that kind of guy.
All that. So I think what Schwartz can bring potentially. We have the personnel because now we have Bud Dupree, who I think is just a raunchy, gritty, fun, super rejuvenating guy for that locker room. So I'm really excited. But I'm excited to see the pieces. but I'm also excited to see kind of I can't find the word, but kind of a rekindling of that like 2007, 2008 Titans defense, because we have a lot of guys that are very reminiscent of those cats, like very reminiscent. And I think that physical football can win. It's just you have to put your players where they're best. And that's what we're missing. We have very, very physical players. We've got a couple finesse ones, but most of our guys just like to hit you. And they want to like stand over your body like while you're struggling to get up. Like that's just who they are. And I love it. And that's the type of football that I grew up on. So I think it's nostalgia and excitement.
So with Mike Vrabel, I would think that this would be a more defensive focused team. That's how you would build your team, with players playing to their strengths.
Mike Vrabel was a terrible defensive coordinator in Houston. He was terrible. So the reason Shane Bowen was not the official defensive coordinator last year, but was calling the plays, was so Mike Vrabel could run the defense. And we saw how that went. We have like Jayon Brown got hurt, broke his elbow, which is just such a wild injury. But I was glad that we got him back for a year. And he took a pay cut. I mean, he really could have gone and asked for more because he's one of the best pass coverage linebackers in the NFL. But we have Jayon Brown back, who is one of those finesse guys, but will also hit you pretty hard. But with the exception of Jayon,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. We have mostly like physical, gritty guys that just want to put you on your butt. And we lost Jarrell Casey, traded him away for nothing last offseason. And trying to think, there's like one other person I'm blanking. Logan Ryan went to the Giants. But other than that, we had the same defense that we had the year before that went to the AFC Championship. So the only thing that changed was the scheme that made absolutely no sense. So I'm hoping that
that makes
are made.
I see what you're saying. So
you see why I wanted to like walk up to the facility and just volunteer my services? I was so frustrated. Go out with a megaphone, like, "Hey, you don't have to pay me."
Is he the kind of person that, hey, he'll go back and look in the mirror and say, "Okay, let's revisit this"? Do you think that's possible? Okay.
No. I think that's his fatal flaw.
and I'm going to say this because longtime Bucs fan, just the past decade, I would say almost a decade and a half has been a nightmare. Just watching players come through, coaches come through, defensive coordinators come through, offensive coordinators come through, kickers, so on and so on. No consistency. And you get guys in there that's like, this is the only way we want to play. No adjustments are going to be made. And I've gone through all that. So I understand what you're talking about. I understand the frustration.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, I don't understand how coaches can't look and say, what? I'm not seeing it. Is it that ego? Is it that I don't know what it is, but there are a lot of coaches that didn't. I would say that BA was that way for a little bit, where in the beginning where there were no adjustments. But
sure.
I would say this year we saw second half adjustments and things worked. And it I guess I'm excited about this. I'm enjoying this because we've got a competent coaching staff on both sides of the ball for the most part. And with the marriage with Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich, and Tom Brady, I don't know that we'll ever see, as Bucs fans, I don't know that we'll ever see something like this again. So it's
so special.
You have to enjoy the ride. And I think that's kind of where we are right now is really enjoying the ride.
Yep. Also, I'm seeing that someone is letting me know that Clowney went to the Browns. I know, and that's okay. He wanted too much money, and his agent is an absolute masterpiece of an agent because he didn't deserve $10 million at all. And I'm glad we didn't pay him that. I just wanted to address that. Like, I know, and it's okay.
So I want to ask you, when it comes to Clowney, was he overpaid when he was in Tennessee? If we go by snaps or if we go by productivity, let's look at productivity.
It's hard because edge rushers, your main piece of productivity is sacks and QB pressures, and QB pressures are a lot harder to quantify. I think he absolutely, his position is called a pass rusher, right? He rushed
Shaq Barrett, but go ahead.
Yeah, he rushed every single passer he played against. But because he got hurt in the middle of the season, it's really hard to say, okay, was he worth what we paid him? Because it's easier for me to say no. He did make an impact when he was on the field. But I also have a problem with the fact that he waited until after training camp to accept a contract here, because then you have to, like, I know you can train by yourself and all that stuff and like stay in shape, but it's still different being with your team and learning everything and getting that chemistry. I mean, that's a huge part of it, is the chemistry of those guys on the line.
And considering
his, learn everything.
Yeah. And his continuous health issues over his career.
I'll say no, just because there were a lot of things that I didn't like about the situation. I was really hopeful that because he was that guy in free agency last year, that it would be, something special. I think had our scheme made a little bit more sense, he probably would have been able to quantify his impact a little bit better.
Yeah. I hope we don't see that with Bud Dupree. I
don't think we will.
I hope that they can utilize him, to his strengths.
I think Bud Dupree is, I'm trying to find the right word. He's just got a dog mentality.
Yeah.
Like,
you got that
I don't know if you watched any of his interviews after he got signed, but he's ready to get to work. And I think just knowing the way that Jeffrey Simmons is, knowing the way some of our other defensive pieces are that are key, like Rashaan Evans, David Long, Jayon Brown, Kevin Byard, all those guys, they all kind of have that dog mentality. It's not finesse to them. Mm-hmm. And he just wants to get in there, get his hands dirty, have some fun, hit some people. And that's what I love.
You know what? Ironically, I have to revert back to my time here as a Bucs fan.
Yeah.
And every year when you get some new player in there, they come in and they say all the right things. And a lot of times they're gonna have to do it on the field. And that's what it's going to come down to. And
but what's different about him?
And I've looked at his film. I love Bud Dupree. I love his game. I've watched him, when he was with Pittsburgh, and he is a player, man, he would be an amazing Buck. I would always, think about stuff like that. But he's there, and I hope that they can utilize him, to the best of his ability.
I think they will. I think he's a good culture fit too, because he does have that dog mentality, and a lot of our guys do. So I think you and I talked about this off air, but there were some interviews of defensive players where they threw some slick shots about, the interviewers would ask, hey, what do you think went wrong today? Like, just straight up ask that. And your defensive players would say, it feels like we don't have a lot of coordination going on.
Right.
Or, it was just like the words they used were direct shots to the coordinator, to the scheme, to all of that. Yeah. So I think that these guys feel comfortable enough in their position that if it starts happening again, they're probably going to speak up. And I hope they do, because it's their career and it's their legacy. Right. If we waste Jeffrey Simmons in his prime, I'm not going to cheer for the Titans anymore.
Again, and I'm, like I said, I just have to revert back to my time with all the futility that we've seen here with the Bucs.
Yeah,
you're going to see that. I mean, you're going to see where a coaching staff doesn't mesh with the players, and you have that revolving door of players. It sounds to me, just listening to you, like it's potentially, this is not the right coaching staff for the talent that you have on this team.
I think if you got a different defensive coordinator, which I am holding my tongue until I see how Coach Schwartz helps with that advisory role. But if it starts looking bad the first few games again, I'm going to say you got to get rid of Shane Bowen and let somebody else take the reins, and it better not be Mike Vrabel. The offensive side of the ball, I mean, we lost Arthur Smith, and now we just promoted, I think, our tight ends coach to OC. So that makes me a little nervous because Arthur Smith is an absolute guru. I mean, he was really, really fun to watch. And I'm very excited for him to go to Atlanta and see what he does down there, but I'm definitely going to miss that. So we have a lot of things going on in our coaching staff that's that's scary. There's a lot of transitions.
And if you haven't already heard, you may know this already. I hate Atlanta. But New Orleans has quickly gotten to they're about here.
Funny.
So that's where they are. So when you talk about Atlanta, I don't want him to do good. You know, if he would have gone anywhere else, I'd root for him, but no, not here.
Sure, I understand. I actually, low key, I was so, and if by the grace of God, Mike Vrabel ever hears this, Mike Vrabel had me to the point that I was so angry with him during the season that I was like, fire Mike Vrabel and give Arthur Smith the head coaching job. Just do that. That's where I was at. So, had that happened, I don't know that I would have been sad. I think Mike Vrabel brings some fire. I think he's got to set his pride aside. And I mean, Bruce Arians is kind of the same way, and he did. And look at what happened.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's what I was talking about. That marriage with Tom Brady, Byron Leftwich, and Bruce Arians. They made it all work. So
yep, you gotta collaborate with the people around you. There's a reason Tom Brady has as many rings as he does. Mm-hmm. Like, you just gotta listen. So,
and that's where I would be. If regardless of being a head coach, winning is going to keep you under contract. Winning is going to keep your staff together. Winning covers a multitude of sins, and that's pretty much what it is. Well, I can't believe we've been on here for a whole hour.
Oh my God.
and the crazy thing is, I believe in the show notes, so we were just kind of winging this. This is just like, whatever. I do want to ask you. Last question before we go. Who is Tennessee getting in? Who are they taking in the draft? I know you got somebody in mind. You've got your guy in mind, Trevor Lawrence, right?
Okay. No. That's aggressive. I'm sorry. No. So I actually would love to see us trade up and get Patrick Surtain. I don't think that's going to happen. It might be a draft day change, but I don't think that's going to happen. I actually really like Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss. He played with A.J. Brown when they were in school there together, and I think they would be pretty cool. He's a receiver. I would also love
Bud Cannibals knows a
lot
about the Titans here.
He sure does. He knows. So I think that's probably your more realistic piece, but I would like to see us pick up a corner, just because we're a little thin over there. We lost like 6 of our DBs.
I was thinking linebacker might be the move for you guys.
Ooh. See, there you go. Ooh. Because, hey, I'd love for a great quarterback to fall that far, but I don't want anybody that's fallen to 22. You got 5 that are going to go in the top 10. I don't want anybody that's fallen to 22.
Why would you trade back then?
Huh?
Would you trade back and just have more picks? Is that a possibility? No.
We might actually need to do that, because I don't know if we've had this conversation, but the Titans had 29 guys go in free agency. We picked up some of them, but we didn't pick up all of them. So we did lose a lot of our 53. So that is something I could see happening, actually, because we need numbers. But I don't know. This is not the part of football that I do. So I have a lot of thoughts, but they're not. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, but they're not very coherent. So
you know what? We'll have to get back together again and see how this works.
Yeah.
And
let's get back together after the draft. What about you? Who are you guys taking at 32?
I'm all over the place. I'm serious. I would like to see somebody on the defensive line, an edge rusher, possibly interior defensive lineman. But we discussed this a little bit earlier. There just aren't a lot of positions. I mean, it would be a depth piece unless they are like a freaking badass that can come in and unseat somebody, which is potentially possible. We saw that. Do you try to pick up somebody in the 3rd or 4th round that is a quarterback, so that they can learn under the greatest to ever do it? I don't know. I really don't know. Because I don't think he has any intention of retiring anytime soon, which is wild. But you guys have to start thinking about that, though, because he is old. Yeah, it's going to happen. But I think that what Jason Light and Bruce Arians have done, they right now deserve our, trust the process. Basically, we should just kind of sit back and enjoy the ride, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. So. Yeah, you guys don't really have to worry about the far out future, because your next couple of years they're sitting pretty. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it can happen. Well, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. And
Yeah, so I'm mostly on Twitter talking about football. It's Anna Lewis, SIA. I run the Say It Again network with a couple of buddies, and we just have a lot of fun over there. We probably have your team covered. I know Gene and I might have some stuff coming for you guys soon. So
maybe cooking something up.
Yeah, maybe just stay tuned. But you can go follow our network at the SIA network as well. So it was great chatting with you, man. We haven't talked football in a while.
It's always fun, but you're so busy. It's just kind of hard to catch you sometimes.
No, I'm just so popular. I'm kidding. I'm really not. Just exhausted.
Yeah. I want to take a moment to shout out Bucs Report. Bucs Report gives us the platform to do what we do. We have some great guys on here, great shows. Get a chance to check us out. If it's our first time, checking out Bucs Report, please, check out some of the podcasts, Real Bucs Talk, What's Cooking in the South. There's just a lot of different Ray Kennedy and what he does, the Over and Under with Harry the Greek. I mean, just a lot of good shows on here, and a lot of good football info. So be sure to check it out if you get a chance to. And last but not least, I do want to shout out Smack Apparel. The show once again, BucWhatYaHeard is powered by Smack Apparel tonight. I always have to shout them out. They've been very good to us, regardless of who your team is. You know what? They've got something out there where they're talking smack for you, and these shirts are dope. So yeah, be sure to check them out. Shout out to my man Robbie and everybody over at Smack Apparel. What we do here before we roll out, Anna, I want to get your final thoughts. It could be anything worldwide related. It could be sports related. It could be like whatever.
Oh, I feel like that we were going through. I mean, it sucks, but the last time I was on the show, I had a very similar thought. My thoughts and prayers are with the families of Dante Wright, and forgive me because I'm on the spot and I'm forgetting this kid's name, the kid in Chicago. This shit is wild and it has to stop. So whatever you need to do, wherever you're at, contact your governor, your senator, your people in Congress and demand change, because at this point we're losing a lot of people for absolutely no reason. We have to find a way to end racism and end systemic racism in this country. And that takes, it takes all of us. So find a way to get plugged in. And there's no excuse anymore. You know about it. It's in the news. You can't act like it's not there. And fight for this, because people you love are being impacted every day. So those are my final thoughts.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate that. For me, it's just like, we all need to work together. We are our brother's keeper. And, like when I have people on the show, it's because I respect your opinion, or, whoever's on. I appreciate you. And there's a reason I have you on. I would love to see it normalized where females have a place in sports on a regular basis, where, you're hearing their thoughts and they're not questioned because they have a differing opinion than somebody else. I think it's just, so many great football minds out there that get criticized for how they view things. And, it's something we kind of have to get past. We have to eventually normalize where females have a place, whether it's a sportscaster, where it's an anchor, whether it's somebody that's a broadcaster broadcasting a game. We see coaches out there. We've seen referees in this, in the Super Bowl. So there's we're making progress, but we need to continue to make progress. And if you get a chance, just support your favorite female newscaster or sportscaster, sports personality, period. And, let's try to get this normalized where everybody has their say and can have a level platform or a level playing field with everybody else.
Appreciate you.
You know what? I do what I can do when I can do it. But anyway, guys, this was a fun show for me. I enjoyed this. Anna, we will get back together, and hopefully I can link up with you after the draft, and have another conversation. And tell your boyfriend thank you for giving me the opportunity to have you on and taking time away from your busy schedule. And I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
He has a very regal royalty name.
He does.
Yeah.
It's Carrington. Yeah.
Yes.
He sounds so So fancy. I know.
Yeah, it
Like,
is.
oh my gosh. One day I will get him on here to talk to you because you guys will play each other more than we will ever play each other. So he has a lot of thoughts and he's hilarious to listen to. So one day
the Rams this year, I think.
You do?
I don't know. I'll have to look.
We play the Rams this
okay,
year.
that's what it is. That's what it is. I think you guys play the Rams.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm trying if COVID lightens up at all. I'm fully vaccinated now and he is on his way. I actually want you awesome. I want to go out and I think we got our second dose very close together, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because I was dying. But
Yeah.
I want to go out to LA and go watch that game because he will not go to a Titans game because it's not his team. So I'm like, okay, then let's go to this one.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I plan on being at the Super Bowl in LA. I do plan on going as much as I hate California, but I'll trip because I missed the NFL experience. And because of COVID, I missed the greatest moment in sports history for any Bucs fan out there, winning a Super Bowl at home. So
and go see the second one. Go see the second. Go see it happen a second time. I'm rooting for y'all because it's not going to be me. So
all right. Well, I love this having a 2021 Bucs fan here. All right. I'm good with that. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for us. We're going to go ahead and roll up out of here. Again, Anna, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
At Anna Lewis SIA on Twitter.
All right. And that's it for us. We are out of here.
See ya.